वेलकम बैक टू एपिसोड 3 ऑफ मास्टरिंग प्रोजेक्ट बजटिंग। आज के इस एपिसोड में हम एक प्रोजेक्ट बजट बनाएंगे फ्रॉम स्क्रैच यूजिंग WBS स्ट्रक्चर एंड दिस विल बी अ प्रैक्टिकल सेशन and by the end of this session I will share you that Excel sheet so that you can use that Excel sheet in your coming projects also. So let's start। पहले हम बात करते हैं कि नॉर्मल प्रोजेक्ट कैसे बनते हैं और उनमें क्या खराबियां होती हैं एंड हाउ वी कैन मेक इट बेटर। सो मोस्टली प्रोजेक्ट्स जो होते हैं वो टॉप डाउन अप्रोच से बनाए जाते हैं। एक टॉप मैनेजर या टॉप लीडर एक वैसे ही नंबर डिसाइड कर लेता है एंड देन पीएम को कहता है, प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर को कहता है कि आप इसी बजट के अंदर प्रोजेक्ट बनाओ। सो एंड दिस इज अ वर्स्ट वे ऑफ मैनेजिंग अ प्रोजेक्ट। सो आज के इस एपिसोड में हम instead of going from a top down approach we will use a bottom up approach। कैसे WBS बनाए जाते हैं, कैसे फेसेस बनाए जाते हैं और कैसे उसके वर्क पैकेजेस बनाए जाते हैं, हर वर्क पैकेज को किस कैटेगरी में डाला जाता है, कैसे उसका एस्टिमेशन लगाया जाता है, वो सब हम इसी एपिसोड में, इसी प्रैक्टिकल सेशन में सीखेंगे।
Okay, so let's start for building a project budget from scratch। तो इसके लिए हमने अगेन वी हैव यूज अ गैनिक सीआई क्लाउड माइग्रेशन प्रोजेक्ट। इस प्रोजेक्ट की ड्यूरेशन है 8 months विच विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम जनवरी टू अगस्त 2026। और इस प्रोजेक्ट में आप ये देखोगे एक्सेल शीट जो है इसमें यू कैन सी देयर आर डिफरेंट कलर्स। ओके, सो द येलो कलर आर द फार्मूलाज and the blue color which is a kind of you can say a WBS हमारे faces हैं इसके, और हर फेस के अंदर different work packages हैं। और अगेन वी हैव कैटेगराइज्ड इट के ये जो वर्क पैकेज है वो कौन सी कैटेगरी का होगा, उसका यूनिट कॉस्ट क्या होगा, what is a unit, whether it's a month, hours, or apart from that if there is a material cost we will add it here। So for this cloud migration project we have divided it into first 6 phases। so first phase है हमारा जिसे हम कहते हैं project management। okay, and the second phase is you can call it as infrastructure assessment, and this phase is required because uh, we need to assess what exactly we have to migrate। okay, and then third phase is uh, it's a cloud design and architecture। so how we will migrate all of this architecture stuff we will include in this third phase, and the fourth phase is migration, execution, and fifth phase is a kind of you can say testing। okay, or you can call it as a testing and validation, and the final is a training and change management। as I said in my last video, this should be included in all of the project budgeting। okay, so now let's divide। अब हम इसको divide करेंगे project manager management को into different work packages। तो जैसे अब हमारे पास प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर के अंदर हम वर्क पैकेजेस हमारे क्या क्या हो सकते हैं। पहला हमारी जो कॉस्ट इन्वॉल्व होगी विच वी कॉल इट एज अ प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर। तो पहले हमें चाहिए होगा प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर, फिर हमारे पास होगा PMO सपोर्ट बिकॉज वी नीड सपोर्ट फ्रॉम द PMO प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट ऑफिस, एंड थर्ड इज वी आल्सो नीड टू क्रिएट स्टीयरिंग कमेटी रिपोर्टिंग। ओके, अब हमारा ये जो प्रोजेक्ट है ये हमारा 8 महीने का प्रोजेक्ट है। so unit is 8, so this project manager we need for 8 months। similarly for PMO support we need for 8 months, and steering committee reporting also required for 8 months। अब since all of this is a kind of a labor cost, so we are categorizing it to a labor cost or labor category cost, and then the estimate। so ये estimate आपका it can vary, but for this case we have just considered that हमारा जो प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर का जो मंथली कॉस्ट होगा वो होगा अप्रॉक्सीमेटली $9,500। सो ओवरऑल प्रोजेक्ट कॉस्ट कितना आएगा प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर का, दैट इज 76,000। सिमिलरली हमने पीएमओ सपोर्ट भी डाल दिया है, रफली आई एम जस्ट पुटिंग 4100 एंड देन 1,500 फॉर द लेबर कॉस्ट। तो अभी यू कैन नोटिस दैट कि यहाँ पे आपके जो टोटल प्रोजेक्ट का बजट है वो ऑटोमेटिकली कैलकुलेट हो रहा है। इट्स 50%, अभी तो 50%, बट वंस वी ऐड ऑल ऑफ दीज वर्क पैकेजेस तो ये ऑटोमेटिकली रिकैलकुलेट होगा। अब हम सेकेंड स्टेप में आते हैं कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर असेसमेंट में हमें करना क्या है। पहला हमारा क्या होगा कि हम जो करंट एसेट्स है या करंट इन्वेंट्री है उसको हम असेस करेंगे। तो वी कैन से करंट स्टेट इन्वेंट्री, उसकी हमारी असेसमेंट होगी। उसके बाद जब हमारी इसकी असेसमेंट हो जाएगी तो हम इसकी मैपिंग करेंगे डिपेंडेंसी की, कौन सा पहले करना है। और जैसे आपका सपोज एन एग्जांपल डेटाबेस पहले मूव करना है या डेटाबेस बाद में मूव करना, ऑल ऑफ दिस डिपेंडेंसी मैपिंग वी नीड टू डू। okay, and the third work package for this is assessment tools. So we need some kind of assessment tools, sorry, assessment tools। तो वो हमें कुछ कुछ ना कुछ टूल चाहिए होंगे जो इनको एक्सेस करने के लिए। इट कैन बी अ काइंड ऑफ लाइसेंसेस। ओके, सो ये वाला जो हमारा है कॉस्ट, इट्स अ इन्वेंट्री कॉस्ट। अगेन some person will do that, so again it will come under the labor cost category. Dependency mapping, again the person will do the dependency mapping, and assessment tool will be a kind of a software, so I'm just adding it as a category. So now again I am putting labor cost। हम assume करते हैं कि ये assessment हमारा 2 महीने के लिए चलेगा, so I will put it as a 2 months। और dependency mapping let's assume it would take roughly 1 month। तो मैंने अब जैसे इसकी assessment की cost डाली है लेब इसके लिए, सो लेट्स पुट सम $3,500 पर मंथ एंड 4,000 पर मंथ। सो टोटल कॉस्ट आपकी यहाँ पे आ गई है 2 महीने के लिए 7,000 और 1 महीने का यूज करें। अब सिंस इट इज अ सॉफ्टवेयर सो वी हैव टू परचेज लाइसेंस। ओके, सो वो लाइसेंस हमारा एनुअल सब्सक्रिप्शन भी हो सकता है या परपेचुअल भी हो सकता है। सो आई एम जस्ट पुटिंग अ मटेरियल कॉस्ट अप्रॉक्सीमेटली $6,000। And now coming to the architecture, so once the assessment is done then we have to do the actual migration। okay, so for sorry, actual migration before we have to do the actually cloud all of this architecture and design। okay, how to do that? so उसके लिए हमें चाहिए होगा first is a cloud architect who will do that। okay, and then we need a kind of we need to design a document also for this, so we can call it as a solution design document is required। okay, so that will all of this architecture we have to document it somewhere, and then we can also categorize as a some kind of architecture review support। so once the architecture is review documented designed, then we have to use a review support from the board members। okay, so there is a separate team that will do the review, okay, before doing it। now again this cloud architect, again it's a labor cost, so I'm marking as labor, and this is again a labor cost, and finally this is again a labor cost। now cloud architect, how much time we need, since this is a 8-month project, for assessment we'll do 2 months, so remaining is 6 months we'll use this, and document will do roughly for 1 month, or let's make it as a 2 months, so we need a documentation design for 2 months, and then we need some kind of a board assessment review board, so maybe we can take half of the execution, maybe we can review it, so let's make it as a 3 months। okay, so labor cost again, so cloud architect we need some costly resource, so that is I'm just putting a 11,000, and for documentation 3,000, and for review so roughly 205,000 rupees dollars for this case। and now once this is done, inventory as infrastructure assessment is done, architecture is done, then next is the migration part, the actual execution part। So for that, what we need is now let's divide into further work packages. So first we need a migration engineer, so who will do this stuff. Okay, and approximately how many engineers we need? So we can say we need 3 engineers. Okay, for 5 months. Okay, so now total 3 engineer for 5 months. So total units monthly, how many months is a 15 months. Okay, again it is a labor cost. So roughly engineer cost we can make it as $8,500. Okay, then next is we can say Azure compute cost, or and this will be a kind of you can say annual. So we add it as a 12 months. And then we also need some kind of a storage also. Okay, so we can make it as a Azure storage and networking. Okay, and then one more thing we need is some kind of a migration tool. Okay, so it can be any migration tool, so we can name anyone. Okay, maybe we can say as a cloud uh, endure. Okay, so which we used. Okay, and then the final one in this category is a data transfer. Okay, so again so this is required. This is a kind of a software, so we'll make it as a software. So this is a software category. Okay, and this is also software category. This is also software category. Data transfer is again if we need some kind of a tool or hardware, so I will just consider it as a hardware. So I'm just making it as a hardware. If you're using any tool, you can just add it as a software. And since all of these are a kind of a material, okay, it's not based on the month, and it's a already one year we have included, so I'm just putting a material cost for this. Maybe roughly I can put maybe $48,000. And Azure networking we can say around $18,000. And then we can put some $9,500. For hardware we can put something around, but I'm just putting it roughly, but actually you have to calculate it, and then we'll put a proper numbers there. Okay, and the next phase is a testing. So testing is we need some kind of a QA engineers. Okay, QA tester. And how many testers we need approximately for this? We can say approximately two developers or two testers we need for 3 months. Okay, so total is how many? 6. Okay, and since again it is a labor cost, I'm just putting it as a labor, and tentative cost is maybe $6,500. And then next is you can call it as a UAT support. So we have to do some kind of a UAT. Again it will go for maybe 2 months for the UAT. So again it is a labor cost approximately $4,000. And then the final one is we can say a performance testing. Okay, so and maybe it is again a kind of a software. We'll use a performance testing. Again the cost will be roughly we can say it as a $3,500. Okay, and then the final one is a training. Okay, so as I said in my previous video also, this is a must have category. Okay, and so that's why we are adding it here. So for training, the work packages will be training and development. Okay, and the next will be a kind of maybe, as I said, we will create some kind of a LMS platform. Okay, and then or maybe we can create or we can use existing one, and then a kind of a change management in case of any change management is there, so that will put it here. Okay, so training we can say roughly 2 months of training will do parallelly. Okay, and again LMS platform is again is a software, so I will add it as a software. So this will be a labor cost, and change management again will be a kind of, if there is any change, then the development team or the migration team will do this. Okay, so then again is a development. So maybe change management, we can say 3 months, any change will happen, we can add it here. So approximately in the software cost LMS platform, let's make it some approximately $4,000, and labor cost for training and development, make it approximately $5,000 for 2 months, and then change management, make it roughly as approximately 10,000. So this is coming. Let me change the font of this. Okay, so overall cost for this exclude, as of now I have included as a 10% contingency. Okay, so total cost is before contingencies 500 and uh, 510 $510,000. Okay, and then 10% I am just adding it as a contingency reserve. So approximately 10% of $510,000 is 51,000, and overall budget at completion, the cost baseline is $561,000, and I have not included a management reserve there. So this is a kind of a cost baseline that we have calculated for this project budget. So, and overall you can see how much is the cost involved per package. You can see it here. So the major one is involved in the migration engineers, which is at 22.7 percentage, and after that it's a project manager who will be in the entire project for 8 months, is at 13.5%. Okay, so in this way we can calculate the complete budget. Okay, so for this video I have just made the work packages very small, like 3 or 4 work packages under each phase, but actually it can be more than that. So this is a kind of a bottom up approach. So we calculated from the work packages and then goes to the top. Okay, so this is the way that we should calculate the project budget.
So let's summarize this episode. Bottom up WBS के 5 steps हैं. First is split your project into phases. Second is for each phase identify the work packages. Third is for each work package estimate the cost. And fourth is add contingency plan. And the final is the जो आपका पूरा budgeted completion है, go for the approval. So see you in the next episode. Stay tuned, stay connected. Thank you.